There are many indie games, 2D and 3D, about human life or about a fictional world filled with mysteries and sometimes enemies and danger. But if we look at some of the most popular indie games, we will notice that many of them use characters and, more importantly, the main characters that are colored in white. We can see this in games such as Ori, Fez, Hollow Knight, Rain World, Minit, Downwell, Baba Is You, and others. Even I used white-colored characters in my games. For example, my game that I made 3 devlogs about, or my other game called Bananavision. At that time, I think I was not making these characters white intentionally, knowing what benefits white color gives to the player and to the developer. I think it happened intuitively. But why really do indie games use white-colored characters, and what's so unique about them? White color symbolizes purity, spotlessness, innocence, virtue, joy. By using white color in the characters, the developers seem to hint at the characters' good and innocent origins and create a contrast between the dangerous and sometimes hostile world of the game. We can see examples of this in games such as Hollow Knight, Ori, and Rain World. The use of white color in Hollow Knight is largely due to the plot of the game, since we clearly see white masks on characters belonging to a certain noble stratum of society in the world of the game, or on positive characters such as the main character, Hornet, Quirrell, and others. But let's take a look at another 2 games where the white color of the characters really carries a clear message to the player and is more unique in the game world. We can see this very clearly in the game called Ori. In it, the whole world is filled with dark and aggressive colors, and only the main character is pure white, which intuitively gives the player a feeling of confrontation between good and evil, white and black. We clearly see that the developers of Ori wanted to show purity and innocence, childish goodness in the main character, so they made him bright white color, glowing with his whiteness. Throughout the whole game, we also meet other positive characters. They also often wear white masks. The designers and artists of the game seem to hint at their positive origin, but do not make them completely white, because this quality is already carried by the main hero. He is portrayed as a unique being in the world of the game, perhaps even salvation for the game's world. On the other side, the vast majority of the enemy characters are drawn in more of a settled, darker, muddy colors, to make a clear contrast for the player. Now, let's take a look at another game called Rain World. There, we can clearly see that the only white character is the main one, Slack Cat, and its kids. Every other enemy character is either black or dark aggressive color. Not only the enemies, but the world itself looks really post-apocalyptic and dark. You rarely see any white color, if any at all. This makes us feel like the main character has to confront the rest of the world. It gives us a feeling of survival and the danger of the world around. But why do all these white-colored characters look cute and memorable? And therefore memorable for their cuteness? Their overall successful design also plays a really important role. White color is very well remembered by people. It is easy to perceive and at the same time strongly attracts our attention, because it stands out on the background of any other often dark colors. So, according to ethologist Konrad Lorenz and his baby schema, things can look cute if they remind us of babies. In other words, if something has big head, small arms and legs, and so on. And we can clearly trace these techniques that were used by the character designers of the games like Fez, Hollow Knight, Baba Is You, and others. Many of these characters are memorable due to their simple but a memorable image, some uniqueness. But the white color still plays a big role in uniqueness of these characters. I think some people might even find characters that are plain white color cute because white color is associated with something innocent and clear, which are also the characteristics of babies. And as we now know, people find things cute if they remind them of babies. Notice that all of these characters are very simple in their design, which is a big part of why they are so easy to remember. But each of these characters has some kind of zest, something that sets them apart from a bunch of other white-colored characters. For example, a red fez on Gomez, the main character of Fez, which contrasts brightly with his white color. Or the main character of Hollow Knight, his horns and big black eyes, which are essentially simple holes. His emotionlessness, but at the same time fearfulness, really hits home for many players. Or for example the long beak of the main character from Minute and some constant expression of a poker face, despite any situations happening on the screen, which just looks funny. But there are not too many unique details and these highlights in all of these characters. More often than not, there are only one or two main ones, and that actually allows the player to easily remember the character. You see, in design there's a general consensus that less is more. In other words, less is more striking. We consider simplicity to ensure that a piece of communication has maximum clarity. We consider simplicity to create balance and impact. Simple design is easier for our brains to process, meaning it's more recognizable and memorable. The simpler your design, the less time it takes for people to look at it and think, oh, I know this character. On the other hand, a lot of pointless details can make the character blend in and make his image too vague and overwhelming to look at for the player. And it's definitely really important for the character to be easy to look at, because that's what the player does for the whole game. When creating a character, you can understand which detail is superfluous and which is very important by removing one of them. If, having done this, the character did not change, did not become worse or less charming and charismatic, then this detail was unnecessary and should be removed. Now let's take a look at the use of white-colored character designs from a game developer's perspective. The white color of the characters and their simple design, which does not have a lot of details, allows artist and animator of the game to create sprites quickly and quickly make changes to them. And as we know, indie games are usually created by one person or a very small group of people. And in creating an indie game, it is very important to save time resources. That is, to speed up the development process and in various ways reduce the amount of work without compromising the result and quality of the game. Moreover, the simplicity of the white-colored character design makes it easier to create good sprites, because the absence of a large number of small details eliminates the possibility of error made by the game artist. Since we are specifically discussing indie games in this video, we know that many of the developers of these games are hobbyists, or at least are not professionals in all areas that are required to develop a game, such as art, for example. Therefore, a simple design that does not require a lot of complex shadows and other details is really welcomed. And for example, in games like Downwell, Baba Is You and Minute, shadows and complex details are completely absent. And in particular, a solid white color makes it possible to make sprites beautiful and of good quality, without having much experience in drawing or character design. So, the Downwell's developer, without much experience in art and animation, was able to create an excellent, memorable character with his small head, funny body, and long legs and arms, not to mention funny animations for different playstyles. Let's take a look at the use of white color in these characters from a practical perspective. But first, some theory. There are many colors and each has certain properties. Some colors can be active, while others can be passive. Thus, let's take, for example, a small square of white color on a black background. It will very much attract a person's attention, as if it glows and seems big to us. On the other hand, a small black square on a white background will seem smaller to us. The white color of the background seems to compress it. And this is the essence of active and passive colors. Knowing this theory, you can use it perfectly in game design, level design, and game character design. Thus, we can clearly see that the use of bright white character designs was chosen by the developers for a reason. In games like Ori, Hollow Knight and Rain World, white, the active color of the main character, really stands out on the passive dark colors of the backgrounds of the game levels, so that the playable character perfectly catches the player's eye. And in such a genre as an action platformer, this is very important. After all, at any moment, no matter what happens on the screen, the player will be able to find the character without making any effort. In many other games, such as Minit, Baba Is You, Downwell, the use of white color is largely due to stylistic reasons. The games Minit and Downwell imitate old games on retro consoles, but they do this with excellent knowledge of now-known game design and game art techniques that were not yet discovered at that time. Nevertheless, in these games, the theory of active and passive colors works great, and all objects containing white are clearly visible and understandable to the player. Nothing mixes with each other, due to the completely black background. You do not get lost when playing these games, no matter how many effects and actions are happening on the screen. In Downwell, enemies are also highlighted with red, which is a great way to let the player know that they are dangerous. After all, we can conclude that the use of white-colored characters and the color white itself in indie games plays a big role, often carrying a certain meaning and message to the player, and also makes significant sense from a game design point of view, and is also due to the development process of an indie game. This video is a little bit different from my usual content topics. All the latest videos are devlogs. But I hope you still liked this format, because I would like to make more similar videos related to game design and analysis of interesting topics related to game development. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next video.